This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. We are going to pick up where we left off on the Metro City trip with Jack and Nora in 1990. But first, I'd like to bring onto the show Nolan Del Campo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I mean, good morning.
Welcome back. I know. We'll confuse ourselves. And then Lindsay McBrayer.
Yeah.
Hey.
Are you with us? Hey. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Nice. All right. So I was just a little short on the last episode where I missed the celebrity cipher. So we're going to actually be catching up with that one here in this particular show, which will be one of the communications that are sent in 1990. Before I climb back onto that, I had one more question, I think, of Nolan. When I was discussing the Jeffrey Epstein stuff in regards to the plea deal, I guess, if you will, that he signed for 18 months with the U.S. District Attorney, they indicated that his name was Alexander Acosta, right?
I don't know.
Yes, that's his name.
Okay. Alexander Acosta then became part of Trump's administration.
Yep. Correct.
And then had to resign once the news broke that he gave this sweet plea deal to Epstein without the victim's knowledge.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make that
the prosecutor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just dawned on me afterwards when I said U.S. District Attorney that I didn't actively put all the puzzle pieces together for everybody so they could see. When I say they can make or break your career, I wouldn't doubt it at all if Acosta didn't make Trump's administration because he did what he did for Epstein. I mean, it's a classic Blacklist episode. You do dirty for us and we'll give you a promotion.
Well, how about this? I have something even crazier than that on Epstein that I researched recently and found out. So I don't know if you guys remember the U.S. Attorney Bill Barr.
No, where is he the U.S. Attorney for?
Of the United States.
Okay. Well,
Bill
the U.S. I think the U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta wasn't for the United States as much as I think he was in Florida. The district attorney in Florida? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was the one in Florida. But what I'm saying is, in Trump's first administration, it was Bill Barr of the United States District Attorney. And so Bill Barr is the son of, I can't remember his father's name, but it's another Barr, who was the one who actually hired Jeffrey Epstein for that teacher job at that prestige private school in in the 70s. I swear to God. Yep.
The one he lied to get into. So somebody had to give him a referral. Well, I guess no, because when they did call on it and found out that he hadn't gone to any of the schools, somebody told the truth on that end. So yeah, he's pumped. He's pumped by big names then. That's how he started somebody.
It started with Bill Barr's father.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, his sentence was only 18 months?
And he only served 12, and 12 hours out of the day, he was on work release, so he left in the morning and came back at night to serve his 12-month sentence.
And I've heard that he had
kill himself. This does not make sense.
That was a separate indictment and conviction. That's when New York FBI got involved, and they took over the case, and they prosecuted based on all the actual victims. So the prosecution for Florida only focused in on some type of a prostitution charge, nothing about children, nothing about human trafficking, nothing that the complaints were showing from all of the people's testimony. And he literally said out loud on a press release, we just don't have enough information or evidence to convict him. The hell you say? You have more than 40 victims. Also, they're just his room, his massage parlor, the size of his penis. Come on, how do you not have enough?
Well, Nolan, the first time he was in there for, like she just said, and he was able to come and go through work release for those 18 months. That was the first time in 07, whenever he got in trouble the first time.
Oh, okay.
So then the second
I didn't
time
realize there was a prior time where this had come up.
Oh, yeah.
See, I haven't been
following it was a cover-up. It was a cover-up.
Then 19, he was in the Real Deal. He was in the Real Deal prison.
Okay, yeah, that's why he was, okay. So it's a way different confinement.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And they were complaining that the help or the employees of this particular jail were either sleeping, not doing their jobs, not manning the people that are incarcerated there, which gave him the opportunity to kill himself, when really it sounds to me like they all skedaddled. So whatever was going to happen to Epstein could happen freely without any interference by anybody. The whole thing just sounds rigged. And like I said, the independent coroner who did, I guess, Epstein's brother asked an independent coroner to look at the body and do an autopsy, found that the hyoid bone was broken in 3 places, and he did not feel like, from the position he was hung off of his bed, that he would have caused that type of an impact that would have been strong enough to break those bones. So that leads to the theory that he was killed once he was incarcerated. So basically they made him, and this is where I'm saying it, you guys, they made him, and then they broke him, literally.
Exactly. Well, and also that indication of the hyoid bone, I cannot say that word, hyoid bone, is an indicator of strangulation. And it's almost 9 times out of 10 that when that bone is broken, that is a prime indicator in a lot of different cases that I've researched, a prime indication of strangulation.
Right. Well, but not hanging. Hanging holds it at a different, it holds, basically when you hang yourself, it's not the same, it's not the same pressure in the location it needs to be able to break it. And since he couldn't get up high enough to, say, jump off something to cause a break, or the impact of something that could cause that break, it is suspect that he was killed. So. Well,
and I also, literally when I heard that, those results of that autopsy, it really brought me back to John Bonet, and that's literally the same bone in her neck that was broken because of the strangulation. So
right. And in that case, they were strangling her. We know that they used a garrote to do it, and that caused probably ample amount of pressure from an adult to cause that breakage. All right.
Yep.
He was in New York when he died, correct?
Yes, because the FBI in New York took over. He also had a house in New York. So he had committed these crimes all over the United States and then off on that island as well. So he's crossed international barriers with human trafficking, child abuse. I mean, you just name it. It was everything that's right up the FBI's alley. This should have been turned over to the FBI when Acosta got the deal to convict him. So he went behind the victim. Yes. Alexander Acosta was the district attorney who gave him the plea deal. And of the 18 months they gave him, he only spent 12. So he didn't even do the full 18 months. And he had, I think by the time they were done, it sounded to me like they had over 100 victims. One investigation in Florida surmounted to over 40, and then New York surmounted to another 60. It was a ridiculous amount. And not only was he having sex with these girls, but he was then farming them out to all of his rich friends and powerful friends that made him. Right. So
he would also pay the girls to go out and find other girls, like to go back and talk to their friends about it.
Correct. Yeah. He was grooming them to make a supply.
He had a network.
All right. A huge network. Well, and that's why I say I wonder if he took over Heidi Fleiss's list.
Yeah. But
She happened.
The other thing is the Netflix documentary primarily focuses on the stuff that happened in Florida. It mentions
Right.
the island, but it doesn't mention much stuff in New York.
No, it doesn't really mention a lot of the things that it should be mentioning. It's really trying to isolate him as the monster and really kind of shed doubt in people's minds as to whether or not these politicians and these rich people are involved.
Mhm.
But like I said, his only client, and this came from Lindsay, was Adnan Khashoggi, who was in human trafficking with Bebe Rebozo in the FBI files on Bebe Rebozo. So, I mean, it's
and
all
when she says only client she means that means he had his own side business too, but then would be working for all these other people, money laundering and things like that, and everything else under the bus, and then but personally under his business name, that was his only client. So that's why when I think you brought it up the last show, when you said when Nolan said, well, he had so and so, that's where he had those the other clients weren't his personal clients. They were clients of him that used him for these purposes of the whatever they were doing.
And that's how he became so rich.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly speaking, that's where the money's coming from, is all these illegal dealings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so back to this here presentation. We see that Nora is in front of a cream-colored van. At one point in time, I did find a crime spree that indicated witnesses seeing a cream-colored van. I want to say that I feel like it was something that was in the Son of Sam murders, but I don't know when they got this van or how long they've had it. And Son of Sam was what, 84?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was a lot earlier than that.
It was a couple years, I think. Maybe it was 79, 80.
Okay. I
Okay.
have
It
the
was
book in my
early.
room. I can grab it real quick.
And probably much older than this van. I don't know when they received this van, but we can clearly see them going on vacation in it.
And what color was it?
It's a cream-colored van. It says is mentioned as a suspect vehicle in crimes related to the I-45 killer. So now when I'm saying that he's back and forth to Texas and a cream-colored van and a security officer or cop-like uniform is some of the eyewitnesses' statements, we've got the cream-colored van and we've got the security guard outfit that makes him look like a cop. I'm saying, like, he really needs to be looked at for these I-45 killings. And possibly it said Anthony Allen Shore. I think I needed to research that. I'm not. I want to say Anthony Allen Shore was also part of or seen in a cream-colored van, which is probably why I put that there. Either way. Hey, yo, Burkett.
Well, and they love to use vans.
Oh,
it's always a van.
Well, this one has too many windows to be a pedo van.
Yeah.
They're not blacked out.
Yeah.
You found your book, Nolan?
Yeah. I think it was mid-70s is my recollection.
I feel like it was 80s.
Late 70s.
Late 70s?
Yeah.
Too many slides for me to go back to figure it out at this point. I do see it coming across
No, I
Netflix
have it
all the
right
time,
here.
though. Yes, but clearly. All right, so I'll just get back at this presentation while you're looking. So next we see...
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you find?
77.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's another one in 76. Right, yep. Yeah, so mid to late 70s, yeah.
Okay, and he probably did not at this time. I think he still had the blue Dodge because 77 was him coming back from Minnesota area and moving back to Texas, and he still had the blue Dodge. So, nope, the cream color van came in.
Was that a blue Dodge van? Was that a blue Dodge van?
No, it was a truck with a white camper, which is another witness sighting of some of these killing sprees, is the blue truck with a white camper shell, and Jack had that. So,
I know
also
exactly
the yellow
what that is.
BMW was highly conspicuous in the Son of Sam murders too. And then there was a van that was filming.
And Jack did have in the 70s a yellow Volkswagen as well. So there's a lot of coincidences with Jack's vehicles, Nora's vehicles, and these crimes. So,
yeah.
All right. So I put up here, I need to research the source. There is a celebrity cipher that came out on a postcard. It says notes say 2 weeks later, couple found dead in San Francisco. I needed to do a handwriting examination on this, but it looks to me like some of the stuff is very consistent with what we have been looking at. I will have to break that part at a different time. This is mailed on September 25th, 1990. It is labeled the celebrity cipher. Cipher is spelled with a Y instead of an I, and it is a German spelling of the word cipher. So it says, well, it's mostly a cipher, and then it just says Celebrity Cipher, Vallejo Times Herald, Vallejo, California. So here, following up on the last 1987 letter that we did see the solve for being mailed to the Vallejo PD, we have another letter. So it's like right now, Jack's getting ready to leave, you guys. I mean, he's separating from Nora even, and he's going to move to Texas for about a year and a half. I think that they're separated and don't get back together until 92. And we're seeing the onset of all of these messages that are being blasted to the Vallejo PD. What else did we? Well, we saw a couple of them. Oh, the 1986 letter that went to the Sacramento Bee. So we're seeing this ramp up of communications. Like, don't forget me, I'm still out here. And of course, Harriette would probably tell you that he's trying to reach out and convey a message to, somebody higher up. So I did receive this particular version from Sandy Betts. She had attended a seminar in which I believe the gentleman that ran it was either former FBI or something to that effect, and he was investigating this particular letter. I always get interested in these former FBI agents that all of a sudden want to play armchair detective after they're done.
Oh yes, I can't stand it. It's just so it makes me feel uneasy.
Right. What are you doing? What are you giving us disinformation? Why are you here? Why do you have access to things that shouldn't be outside of the agency if it's still an unsolved crime? That's what we would be told as the public. So how is it that you have access to this stuff? So basically, I'm going to read to you the cliff notes that this man spoke on in regards to this. It says the celebrity cipher of 9/25/90 was never made public by the Times Herald or the Vallejo Police Department. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? The 1986 letter was not made public either. I had to find out from Terrence Pascal, the former document examiner on the Zodiac case, that it was believed to be a Zodiac communication, but it was never released to the public. So now I've got firsthand information from somebody who used to work the case, and we're seeing this from an FBI agent saying this has never been seen before. So again, I ask, how do you have it? Why are you showing it to us? Perhaps it was mailed during a period of time when Arthur Lee Allen was in jail, and that's why he suspects that it was withheld. A conflict of their preconceived opinions. However, it is my guess the police just wanted to keep it quiet, or they thought the card was simply a crank, a hoax, etc. It seems as though they should have made it public. The detective who gave us a copy seemed to imply they thought it was a hoax. It is my opinion that this is not a hoax, that this is truly from the Zodiac. This is an important clue because it tells us that Zodiac is still around and still very close. In fact, as this was mailed to the Vallejo Times Herald and not the San Francisco Chronicle, to the best of our knowledge, VPD has the original. Tells us he is closer to Vallejo residence-wise and more ties murder-wise, so to speak. Yet it is only the Vallejo Times Herald which prints the celebrity cipher code game. So now we know why it's labeled the celebrity cipher, because that's something that the Vallejo Times Herald is actually putting in their newspaper. But what is so curious about this postcard is the wording, the actual text of it. And I'm going to climb into that in a second. But I don't know if any of you guys caught that. This letter was mailed at a time that Arthur Lee Allen was incarcerated, probably for abusing a child. I think that's what he went to jail for. And that would not fit their groove. Robert Graysmith, who's being promoted by the media and mass newspapers on his book of the Zodiac, his take on Arthur Lee Allen being the actual suspect when we know he's not. Tom Voight's, act and blaming Arthur Lee Allen for all that time. That would have stripped them of their narrative if this was put out to the public and it was known that the Zodiac is still out there writing letters and you guys have the wrong man. for your
Well, I
games.
figured it out. I figured it out.
Netflix documentary.
Hold on, Nolan, hold on. Lindsay
Okay.
was speaking. I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Well, he I guess we were on the same thought. That's what I was going to say. How I ruled out Arthur Lee Allen was after I watched the Netflix documentary, and I did some digging along with that, and almost immediately while watching the documentary, I ruled him out immediately because they were, like you just said, he wasn't even on their radar then. They can say he was, but he was not on their radar at all whatsoever, in any regard to the Zodiac. And so, I mean, and that's how I figured out that he was in jail during certain letters.
Right. And they don't want us to know that.
The Netflix documentary does not mention that because it undercuts their theory as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's all just to stir this pot. It's all for disinformation purposes. It's no different for the narrative that they're using in the Epstein cases, trying to make it look like Epstein was the only monster. So we all forget about these high political figures that are actually banging children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, you guys.
100%.
Now, this is the middle portion of this particular profile. It says, if somebody was in fact playing a joke, why would they duplicate 2 lines? Please note the top 2 lines on the left side of the card with the bottom 2 lines on the right side of the card. So let's look at that. So basically, these top 2 in this left-hand corner up here starts with a zodiac symbol and an R, a circle, a half-shaded square, and a plus sign is repeated at the bottom of the right-hand side, and so is that second line. So his take on this is, why would they duplicate 2 lines? Please note the top 2 lines on the left side of the card with the bottom 2 lines on the right side of the card, they are the same. Why? A prankster would not make such a simple mistake. Therefore, I conclude it is not a mistake. A prankster, by utilizing the same symbols as in the first 3-part cipher code, could have invented or created a much spookier or a more nasty message. Such a message might read, I will keep on killing, or you will never catch me, or my slaves need more friends, or whatever. Anything, something more chilling. But the deciphered symbols give us a strange and almost incomprehensible array of jumbled words and vague messages. And this is what it basically ciphered out to. Longed, hunt, late, sleuth, invite you to a slut youth hotel hide. That's not so crazy when we're talking about what's going on with Epstein. A youth hotel, a slut youth hotel, that sounds to me like human trafficking.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm blown away, and this is coming at this time in 1990. Please note that all symbols are used except 2, the I and the Q. Perhaps he is asking, what is your IQ? ? No, maybe not. The first 2 words can be changed to long-hunted late sleuth. Now, I think that probably was more accurate, right? I mean, at least it made a little more sense than longed hunt.
Yeah.
Long-hunted late sleuth.
Okay.
Invite you to a slut youth hotel hide. And this is in regards to celebrities.
It reminds me of that phrase. It reminds me of the phrase, the hunt become the hunted.
Well, the other thing it reminds me of is we've got, again, Heidi Fleiss running the Madam thing in California. And maybe he's trying to tell on her because she's providing girls for the celebrities.
Yeah.
Something was odd, and the timing of this is just not coincidental. So I also believe the finished part of this profile says, yes, the only investigator who called in our suspect died. He is indeed a late sleuth who long hunted. Does such a hotel as Hotel Hyde exist, perhaps in the city? Is it a slut youth hotel? Why would he want to invite us to a slut youth hotel? The message is bizarre, cryptic, and seemingly composed in a brief moment just to tease the public and the police department. So this postcard was mailed on 9/25/90. Other close Zodiac dates are Donna Lass on the Sierra Club card is 9/26/70, and the Lake Berryessa murder is September 27th of 1969. So it is fitting in with the date scheme of the Zodiac. Are these victims regarded by sluts as sluts by the Zodiac? I go back to Heidi Fleiss. Cipher is, this says British. Everything else I read said German. So cipher is a British spelling for cipher. Another clue, he misspelled herald for herald. So he used an O instead of an A for the newspaper, which is another clue, because we've seen in the Black Dahlia, the postcards that were mailed, he oftentimes misspelled the Times Herald on purpose. He knew how to spell it, but he would consistently misspell it on purpose. If a prankster did all of this, he is very clever indeed. Even the handprinting is very similar to some of the Zodiacs. And whoever this is an LL. I don't know what his name is. I'd like to give him a shout out for this because I think he pretty much nailed some very important parts on profiling that particular card. So I threw that up against the DB Cooper cards and the Scorpion letters, which we're going to be talking about here shortly in the John Walsh case. And we can see that the handwriting is definitely right up that alley. It is similar. It looks like even the same style of pen, almost like a felt tip pen is being used, which I coined Jack and the Zodiac for. That is Jack's favorite pen, hands down. And then we see the Zodiac using it in many of the communications. So, and the postcard aspect.
And that all links in to John Walsh because and why he was in contact with him, whether they knew each other or not. I think that they did because if you look, you know how the media portrays things. Oh yeah, they want you to look the other way, and blame it all on one person, right? It's the same concept in John Walsh's America's Most Wanted. They're wanting you to go help find the bad guy. Don't look over here, but you need to be looking over here to go find the bad guy in your town, in your city, and all that, and call this number for your tips and blah blah blah. Whenever it's really the bad guys over there, and he knows it.
Yes, it's disinformation. Sending us on a wild. Yeah. We're hunting for snipes.
So they just used him as their little Ponzi.
Exactly. Now let's follow up with another 1990 communication. This one has always intrigued me as well because guess what? It doesn't get published until 2007. Their backstory behind it is that somebody must have inadvertently set it on a shelf and forgot about it. My Lily White.
Oh my God.
My Lily White. I think people are so familiar with the Zodiac's style of writing, especially somebody at the San Francisco Chronicle. There's no way this thing got set on a shelf and withheld. It was withheld on purpose, is my take. We just saw that the celebrity cipher was, the 1986 letter was. We're going to see that the John Walsh was. Like, it's becoming now a complete MO of these individuals in the order of these communications. Now, this one's postmarked December of 1990. The Christmas card and master postal keys is a copy of 2 master postal keys inside this card. I have been saying this entire time that there is probable evidence that the Zodiac is in possession of cancellation stamps and other types of postal stuff which is owned by the government. And if he is a government employed by the government as the Zodiac and all these other happenings, he would likely be given this kind of stuff in order to perpetrate the facade that he's putting on. Either way, the card itself is addressed to the editor, San Francisco Chronicle, 901 Mission Street, San Francisco, California, 94103. That's the only handwriting, and it's on the outside of the envelope, and it has looks like a 25-cent Christmas stamp, and we know how he likes his stamps. This being mailed, I really can't tell the date, but it is definitely December of 1990. And then the card itself is a Groucho Marx or a disguise, if you will. It's got the Groucho Marx glasses and nose on a snowman, and it has a jackrabbit in the forefront, which I always laugh at Jack when I see jackrabbits and things because I feel like that's his representation of who he is. It says, from your secret pal, can't guess who I am yet? ? Well, look inside and you'll find out. So this is where that whole guess thing in the 1978 letter they tried to say was a hoax, and the 1987 letter that they tried to say was a hoax. These 2 letters say guess on them. So this Christmas card is following right in tandem with what the Zodiac is saying. It all runs together. The inside of the card says...
I noticed. one thing I noticed on the envelope itself, he spells out California. And
Right.
the handwriting looks neater, but it looks very similar to Zodiac.
Absolutely. If not just Zodiac, many other communications within this range. The inside of the card says...
This is years later, so...
Yeah. Well, but we're seeing, like I said, this ramp up in the 90s when Jack's about to leave California again. It's no different than him going to Texas, killing, and then coming back here. He's perpetrating all these messages, and he's going to leave to Texas. The inside of the card says that I'm going to keep you guessing. Happy holidays anyway. Now let's talk about a little bit of that. The front of the Christmas card, the snowman in disguise and the jackrabbit we just discussed, is equal to the Oakland County child murders, aka the snowman murders, the Zodiac, Scorpion, I-45, Robert Graysmith, and so many more. From your secret pal. Can't guess who I am yet? Well, look inside and you'll find out. This whole secret pal, I think, is, runs in tandem with you guys haven't figured me out yet. Right? Like telling the cops they not doing their jobs and you can't figure out who I am. Let's see. Copy of the post office box keys. I thought that was interesting because, and we're going to get to that in a second. I'm not going to talk about that yet. Per Harriette Suchet, the serial numbers on the keys indicate military use for New Jersey and Washington, D.C. And that was an initial take. Obviously, this is information from way back in 2009. Jack, of course, being a supply sergeant in the Air Force, would have had access to postal keys back when he was in the service. But if he's currently working under the guise of like MK Ultra or anything else, some type of a project, he's going to have access to these. They'd be handed over to him. It's also a goodbye letter, as I call it, before leaving California once again, just as I said. It's an anniversary letter like the Donna Lass and Georgette Bauerdorf and others, and it's also coming at a time when Jack is going to leave the state. 1990, Jack and Nora live in Sacramento until at least December of 1990. And then I want to say sometime in 1991 is when they separated and split. So here's some information that I found on the Christmas card. It says the 1990 Christmas card from the Zodiac Killer. While preparing for an article about the release of the new film, isn't this perfect timing? Employees at the San Francisco Chronicle discovered what appeared to be a long-forgotten communication from the elusive pen pal. Postmarked in Eureka, there's another hint and clue, California, in December 1990, the red envelope was overlooked amid the many hoax letters and forgeries that plagued the newspaper after the release of Graysmith's first book and the sensational media coverage surrounding the crimes of the Zodiac copycat killer in New York. If the card was an authentic Zodiac communication, the killer was still alive as late as 1990. Still taunting and still at large more than 16 years after his brief appearance in 1974. Now, they're lying to us in this editorial because they're making it sound like the last time he wrote was 1974. We've just talked about a slew of communications, including one identified by a document examiner that was written in 1986. So I'm going to give this very little credibility whatsoever, but I'm going to read it for what it's worth. It says, addressed to the Chronicle in pencil and with an eerily familiar style, the envelope bore a 25-cent that depicted a Christmas tree and contained a holiday greeting card. On the front of the card, a snowman wearing a Groucho Marx nose, mustache, and glasses stands in a snowstorm as a small rabbit watches. The text of the card was reminiscent of the Zodiac's Halloween card to reporter Paul Avery more than 20 years earlier. And we've already read the message. We'll skip that. The writer had also included a Xerox of 2 keys on a chain attached to a small pen-like cylinder, marked USPS for the United States Postal Service. The keys had identification numbers of undetermined significance, leading to speculation that the Xerox might lead to a post office box containing the identity of the Zodiac or some other clue that could prove the solution to the case. So again, we're discussing post office boxes again. Tom Voigt, founder of the website ZodiacKiller.com, attempted to track down the individual who had rented the post office box in December 1990. The investigation led Voigt to a man he dubbed, now I don't know if any of this information is true at all. Sandy Betts says that she was in on this particular part of the investigation, but Harriette claims that the actual codes on these keys go to different locations than what they're saying here about Tom Voigt. Says the investigation led Voigt to a man he dubbed Sam, and a list of circumstantial evidence which appeared to implicate the new suspect. He's either the Zodiac, Voight said, or he's a perfect example of how easy it is to find a great Zodiac suspect. Okay. After completing his amateur investigation, Voight turned his information over to authorities, who then conducted a quiet yet official investigation. Sam was eventually cleared as a suspect. Look at you go, Voight. You can't even, oh, yeah. But evidently he can throw a suspect at him. And I think that this guy was probably even, I don't know if he was dead at this time, but I know that they were really trying to steal the deal on somebody who died before the anthrax letters. It says the authenticity. So, and of course, this is being written in 2007. So it may have been after 1990 that he did this investigation into the, oh, it'd have to be. Wait a minute. Now I'm confused. So they find the letter in 2007. So at some point after 2007 is when he conducts this investigation into those postal keys and ends up at this man's place. Okay. Let's see. The authenticity of the 1990 Christmas card became the subject of debate. While many who followed the case believed that the Zodiac was responsible for familiar writing on the red envelope, others believed that the card was the work of a forger. The San Francisco Chronicle consulted with a retired handwriting expert who had once worked on the Zodiac letters. The expert claimed that he had memorized the killer's writing, and based on his memory, he determined that the card was a forgery. The person, I don't know how he concluded that. I mean, honestly, the person responsible
for like Zodiac.
I know. The person responsible for the writing
in the card point to Zodiac.
Right. And who hoaxes it that well? I mean, the taunts are phenomenal, and they're in line. And why would you? I mean, really, why would you?
Do they name the handwriting expert?
No, it does not say who it was.
I don't think it was Sherwood Merrill, the guy from Sacramento, right?
That would be one of them. Terrence Pascal would be one of them. Lloyd Cunningham would be another. Those are three that I know who worked on the Zodiac case. The person responsible for the writing on the envelope had traced over the lines in several places, and according to the expert, the Zodiac never did so. The expert was apparently unaware that the Zodiac had traced over the lines of his writing in several communications. Wow. So they just shut the expert down. The expert makes a claim that the Zodiac never did this, and now they're blatantly saying the expert was unaware that the Zodiac actually had done this. The 1990 Christmas card, some expert. The 1990 Christmas card remains a controversial and dubious addition to the long list of suspected Zodiac correspondents. So now let's do some comparisons. I lined up the word editor from one that went to the San Francisco Chronicle that we know, in fact, is the Zodiac's handwriting. Look at the way this stuff is written. Like, oh my gosh. Editor lines up perfect, guys. There's this huge gap
so
between
many similarities.
the E and the D and the I, and yeah, and that's just one word I decided to line up this week to be able to show you guys something in lieu of the handwriting, because I did complete this Christmas card as a product of the overall handwriting examination that we did way back when. However, I still, when we come to these communications for the first time chronologically, I want to remind people how close of a match it is to what we are looking at and what we've seen throughout all these crime sprees. Now, this information on these particular keys is interesting. I don't know that if that's a pen light, like a flashlight attached to this keychain. It looks like it has a little something up here that might be a button that you would push. It's long and tubular, and it's on a chain with these two keys. The postal code
it's some sort of flashlight, yeah.
Right. It's kind of what it looks like. Here are, I believe, the numbers that are made out that are actually scribed into these postal keys. One is 79408, USPS, do not duplicate. And then the other is USPS, do not duplicate 58851. Now, Harriet's research of these particular numbers indicated that one of these went to Princeton, New Jersey. Huh, that's interesting. Because the Scorpion author, writing to John Walsh, says he just moved into New Jersey and had 23 victims. Okay, but it's, never mind. I'll get to that. The other one evidently is an international box. And my contention there is that we saw the fake anthrax letters come out of Thailand and Malaysia. which were supposed to mimic the fact that whoever sent the anthrax letters in the United States has now left the country, and we should be looking for him out of the country. To me, it was just a ploy to point you in the wrong direction. But interesting to note that that is an international post office box key. And from what the Chronicle says, and I don't know, again, did they make this whole story up that these keys went back to a post office box to a man named Sam? Either way, he was cleared. All right, 1991. This is where we actually see Jack back in Texas again. And he's writing a eulogy for his brother Chuck. Oh, actually, Dawn, the youngest, is writing a eulogy for their brother Chuck. And in Dennis's book, he writes 1991, Jack retires and Mom, Jack, and Charles moved out of their duplex. So here we have him. I thought he actually worked for HP till 1993, but Dennis is saying that he retired in 1991. So that makes all these trips in the 90s back to Texas extremely possible. It says Mom, Jack, and Charles moved out of their duplex that they had lived in for 9 years and moved into a motorhome. Charles was able to complete his elementary years without having to change schools because they moved their motorhome and lived on the side of our house for about 6 months. Then they moved to, and he lists off, Washington, Arizona, and Texas, all the way through up until about 1998, in which case I believe he's going to indicate that he has come back. But I'm not going to take us that far in the chronological order right yet. By 1991, Jack moved to Texas, which coincides with Kaufman's and Dewhurst's respective books, which indicates that he retired from Pinkerton or Hewlett-Packard in 1991 at the age of 63. February 11th of 1991, Jack has a copy of a eulogy that Don Terrence wrote for their brother Chuck. Charles Arthur Terrence. Chuck served 6 years in the Air Force, which would be consistent with Jack's entering the military and Air Force in 1954 when he appeared in Michigan and ran off with Chuck to San Francisco, leaving Chuck's wife and baby, I think, in Arkansas. I'm a little curious about this eulogy, though, because it's actually stating that Chuck died at the age of 39 in 1991. And we know that's not true because based on Jack's own pictures, we see that Charles Arthur is born in 1935. He is literally, I think I've calculated that out, 56 in 1991. Who would make such a mistake on their own brother's age? That confused me a little bit.
That was a joke. Jack Benny always used to say he was 39.
Who?
Jack Benny, the comedian.
Uh-huh.
Every time he had a birthday, he said, "Oh, I'm 39."
Maybe it was a joke and presented properly.
Yeah.
On paper. Printed, yeah. All right. So in this particular FOIA file from the FBI archives, it's realized by the FBI and law enforcement that their number one suspect, Arthur Lee Allen's fingerprints, were never compared to the latent prints collected in the Zodiac Killer's crime scenes. I find this hilarious. You guys are nailing and pegging this guy as the number one suspect, and you haven't even looked at his fingerprints and his palm prints. So evidently they procured the prints and they did the testing. The $1 million question that I like to ask, if Allen was cleared, so this FOIA file says that he was basically cleared, that they are not a match. If Allen was cleared on 3/22 of 91 is not matching any of the 37 latent prints on file in these crimes, why did Robert Gray Smith continue to name him in his sequel, Zodiac Unmasked, in 1996? And why did Harry Phillips of 2020 include Allen in the DNA testing that they failed to do on Jack? This story told by Dennis and myself in 2000, it's either 2009 or 2010. I think it was about the time we were about to do Aphrodite Jones. I spoke with Harry Phillips of 20 on 20. He had indicated that they had done this DNA testing on, I believe, 8 people. And I asked, why didn't you do Jack's? Why was Jack's DNA not included in this run? And he said, because we knew the other 8 people weren't the Zodiac. And guess what? Arthur Lee Allen was one of those people that were tested and were cleared. Yet they go on in the 2007 movie and make it out once again that Arthur Lee Allen is the actual suspect. I mean, these people just will not let this bone go, or they think we're going to, and we're not going to continue, hammering down that you are lying about Arthur Lee Allen to distract from the truth. Anybody have anything to add on that?
No. Same with the Netflix. It focuses mainly on Allen. It's more about Allen than it's about Zodiac.
Exactly, 100%.
In that family down in Southern California, you know, that he was really close to. That's what that documentary is about, mainly.
So that's
well, I was going to just add to that. That's just part of the repetition part of them trying to, it's the mind control where it goes back all the way back to MK Ultra, where that's literally what they use as a skill to repeat things and make people believe, oh, and it always makes their brain go, oh, like a light bulb, Arthur Lee Allen. And that's why he keeps being brought up.
Right. Right. And that's what media and that's what TV is good for, is mind control, allowing us to believe the small amounts of information that they want before they hit us with a big deal, or vice versa, disinformation in whole. So the next FBI FOIA file I find absolutely floored me. It was the last one in the FOIA archives for the FBI. And it is dated 4/24 of 1991. So now we have Arthur Lee Allen, who's been cleared in March 29th of 91 and April 24th of 91. A month later, the FBI is pulling out of the investigation. Why would the Sacramento FBI discontinue their investigation into this maniac when clearly he is operating across state lines? Children are involved, and it seems to be something that is right up their alley, or at least in their jurisdiction. That's when I plopped in here Epstein being filthy rich, because that's telling me that this person is going to continue to get away with it because the powers that be are making sure that he does.
Correct.
So that was my second $1 million question in regards to this. Why did the FBI shut down their investigation? This is still an extortion case, and an extortion of many newspapers and many individuals. At this particular time in August 8th of 1991, we find Jane Doe number 3 in the killing fields, which I believe has been identified. League City with Phi Miller and Jane Doe number 2 were found. Again, both the Jane Doe. I know 2 of the Jane Does. So this one says there's a third Jane Doe. I'm not sure if that one has been identified yet. I'll have to go back and look at that. That actually brings us to the next communication. And I believe this one comes out of the Walsh files. Correct, Lindsay?
Yes.
This is it's sent to Charlie Reese of the Sentinel Star. I think that we've talked about the Sentinel Star.
Oh yeah, we have it. The major one is in Florida, where he's
right.
from. Well, I say where he's from. He's from New York. He's from New York actually, but he resided in Florida most of his life.
And I believe either a fake or a real anthrax letter was also mailed to the Star. We're going to be coming up on that soon, but I'm pretty sure that the Sentinel Star or the Star is one of the entities that received one of the anthrax letters. So this was sent to Harriette, I guess, from Megan Walsh. I see Megan's name on the side here, and it was December 8th of 2023. I don't know if she just posted it online and that's where Harriette got it from, or if she was communicating with Megan Walsh and received this letter. So it was my first time seeing it.
I think that was before she met Harriette, and Harriette had saw it and contacted her about what she'd been researching already.
And I think Harriette believes that it was mailed in 1984. So I'm going to have to put that back in chronological order with 1984 and the happenings of Adam Walsh, because this letter is definitely in regards to him. I did a little bit of map questing when I was looking at it, because I was a little bit shocked to hear that this was Hollywood, Florida. I guess I never really tuned into that when I looked at it on the map. Hollywood, Florida is right in between Dania Beach and Fort Lauderdale. And we have a picture of Jack in Fort Lauderdale, which looks like it is circa the couples killing in Dania Beach back in 1946. And I think that was to let law enforcement know they didn't have the right person in jail for the Texarkana Phantom murders. So we have these couples that are murdered in, or a set of couples in Dania Beach that were murdered, and it's very close to the Hollywood area and also very close to Fort Lauderdale. All of these were about 14 to 17 minutes apart. So this letter says, I met this guy in Ocala Bar who said he knew someone that would pay 10 grand for a young boy. This guy had lost his kid and his wife was going nuts. We took the deal. He paid cash. I went to, it looks like he's going to start to say Chicago, but that word is cut off. So I don't have all of this message. I went to Chicago, let's say. My friend stayed put, so indicating that he stayed in the Florida area. I get back and find this kid was killed. I know his name was Adam, and he was from the islands. We got him in Hollywood. I don't know this man's name. He don't know mine. He is a big beard and don't wear any shoes on his feet. He is crazy as, I'm going to guess, hell is what this.
So this is the one that I sent you in an email a couple of days ago that I have found again, and then there's more correspondence added to it. So you can see the full thing in your email if you want to just maybe bring it back up later.
Yeah, you know what? And this episode has been so interesting. We're out of time. And I'm going to follow up with all those emails and the information you sent me, Lindsay. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you both for being here. We'll see you next Friday.
Well, one thing real quick.
No, I have to go. We're done, guys. We got to cut it off.
Oh,
we're
okay.
at 51 minutes. All right. I will see y'all next week. Oh,